Here in Dallas, Texas, we're covering the Defending the American Dream Act. Honor, again, to talk to you, Senator Ted Cruz. Good to see you, sir.
Cameron, thank you for having me.
When you hear the President of the United States say that there is no strategy yet for ISIS, what's the first thing that came to your mind?
Well, he's saying the obvious, which anyone looking at the Obama-Clinton foreign policy recognizes there's no strategy. And what's happening globally is we've seen America recede from leadership in the world. That's created a vacuum, and into that vacuum have stepped nations like Russia, like Iran, like China. It's made the world a much, much more dangerous place. You know, at the beginning of the Obama administration, the Obama-Clinton foreign policy was described as leading from behind. And leading from behind means you're not leading anywhere. We need to get back to an American president who will stand unequivocally for the United States of America, who will stand with our allies, and who won't confront bullies and tyrants with weakness and appeasement.
We're sitting here in Texas, of course. It's so much going on with illegal immigration on the border of Texas. We heard stories now that ISIS is gathering in Juarez and possibly coming over. I think we all know ISIS is probably here now. What should we do?
The answer is simple and it's common sense. If you get outside of Washington, if you gather a room full of any Americans, regardless of party, regardless of race or class, and ask, what do we need to do on the border? The answer is the same. We got to secure the border. The first thing any sovereign nation does is secure the border. And the reason we haven't secured the border is President Obama and the Senate Democrats will not secure the border. They don't want to secure the border, and even worse than that, the crisis we're seeing at the border is caused by the promise of President Obama's amnesty, by the lawlessness of this administration. We need to get back to leaders in Washington who will uphold the law, stop granting amnesty, and actually protect Americans.
Magic wand, how do you protect the border?
Number one, boots on the ground. I introduced legislation in the U.S. Senate to triple the Border Patrol. I've spent a lot of time down on the border. Consistently, when you talk with law enforcement, when you talk with the farmers and ranchers who live along the border, they say the most effective tool we can have is boots on the ground. Number two, you need tools. You need weapons, you need tools. The legislation I introduced would have increased fourfold the fixed wing and rotary wing airframe assets so that we can monitor what's happening there. Number three, you need a strong E-Verify system so that you remove the magnet. But number four, you've got to eliminate the promise of amnesty. Just a few weeks ago, the Border Patrol interviewed about 200 people who'd come here illegally, many of them children. And they asked the question, why are you coming? Why have the numbers exploded so dramatically? 95% of them said they're coming because of the promise of amnesty. They're coming because they believe they will get a permiso. I introduced legislation in the Senate to make absolutely clear that the President of the United States has no authority to grant amnesty to anybody here illegally. Now, I'm proud to say the House of Representatives passed the legislation I introduced, but sadly, Harry Reid and the Senate Democrats refused to let it come up for a vote, and instead Harry Reid dismissed the Senate for August for the summer while doing nothing to secure the border, while doing nothing to address the vital national security interests we have here at home.
Last question, sir. Right behind us, it says Defending the American Dream. If you had to give it a, let's say, 1 to 10 scale, where are we on the American Dream?
In the hearts of Americans, the American dream is strong and powerful, but yet under President Obama, it's getting harder and harder for people to achieve the American dream. I think all of us together need to come together and take this country back. I am optimistic. I am encouraged because the worse things get, the more the American people are waking up, and I think that's what it's going to take to turn things around. I am confident in 2014 we're going to retake the U.S. Senate. We're going to retire Harry Reid as Majority Leader. And in 2016, I believe it is going to be a consequential election, just like 1980. You know, the parallels between Obama and Jimmy Carter are uncanny. It took Jimmy Carter to give us Ronald Reagan, and I'm convinced the American people are waking up. They're going to demand getting back to the free enterprise principles, getting back to the constitutional liberties this country was built on. That's how you defend the American dream. That's how you bring it back. It depends on the American people waking up, being energized, and demanding we get back to the great principles that built America into the greatest country in the history of the world.
Senator Ted Cruz, honor. Good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Always great to be with you. Thank you. God bless you. And thank you for the incredible leadership the NRA gives every day fighting for our Constitution. We have never seen an administration assault our constitutional rights like the Obama administration and the millions of NRA members, I'm proud to be a life member, who are standing and fighting for our rights. That's what it's going to take to turn this country around.
Thank you, sir.